Yes. Yes. So this is Einstein.
Awesome. This is
And
Pixel.
yeah. And so my 2002 dog is this guy.
The ERS 220.
Leo. Yeah.
Awesome.
He had very noisy joints. I had a
Yeah.
Leonard Cohen event in 2002, and
Mhm.
it was very distracting. Every step he took, there was this squeaking, you know. But rendition of the great event that I sent to you is really quite impressive. So I mean, he was very programmable, you know, and spoke
Yes.
more languages and stuff than the modern dogs do. It's just he wasn't very dog-like. That's all.
Yeah.
so yeah, and for Christmas, you know, this triangular thing sticking up from
The antenna.
220.
Yeah.
I lost that for a while, and I was heartbroken. And I asked my son to see if he could recreate one, and of course it's incredibly difficult. And then I found it just in the bottom of the carrying case. It's such a small thing, it got tucked in somewhere. But
I believe there's actually someone in one of the Aibo groups that's making reproduction ones now.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
We've got that model and the ERS 7, the latte and macaron, and the ERS 111, which is similar to the ERS 110. And we have two of the ERS 210s and the ERS 220.
Right.
I just figured I'd bring out the oldest and the newest.
Sure. So the visual behind me here, this is the Tin Box store back in 2011. And the importance of that is I was so enamored with these cardboard robots that when that store display came down, I asked if I could have the robots. So I took them home, and they became the symbol for the course that I created on technology in the future of medicine. And so like they're in the newspaper article in our Edmonton Journal and so on, those robots. And if you look at this picture, it's a very complex picture.
It really
has a reflection of the street, you know, the other side of the street and so on.
That's very cool.
So yeah. And
I actually have that lunchbox that's in the background.
Yeah.
The one that has robots on it that's like red and blue.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, excellent. So we have an initiative called The Future and All That Jazz. And this is one of the symbols that we use for it.
That is so awesome.
So it's an extension of the course between semesters. For some students, they get so enamored with the course, they want something to do related to the course between the spring and the fall semesters. So we've taken the Future and All That Jazz on the road. We've done it in London, UK, and really around the world. And so what we do is we take important but unpopular subjects in science that you probably wouldn't voluntarily listen to a lecture on, and insert those same subjects in poetry and music, and entertain people and accidentally trick them into learning stuff that they wouldn't want to hear in a lecture. So that works. Education
is only good when it's fun.
That's right. Infotainment, right?
Yes. Yeah, me and my boyfriend, we do robotics demonstrations like in malls and schools and all that, or we were doing them until, you know, the whole world blew up. But Yeah, and I like making them educational and, featuring pretty much a lot of our more interesting robots that we have.
Right. So, speaking of education, and
Mhm.
so you realize that this is the only 1000 in Canada, I think. It's incredibly difficult to get it across the
Oh
border,
yeah,
and it has no support whatsoever. So it'll
right.
never be upgraded or have any of
That's
the,
how ours is. We got it secondhand because we couldn't afford a first-hand one.
yeah, yeah. I see. Okay. No, that's wonderful that we both have unsupported 1000s. But
Right.
I was sort of very depressed until I realized that the built-in programming is, interesting enough for me. I don't
Right.
need anything more. I don't need any updates. And I
Right.
don't really play with it by myself. I
Mhm.
use it on Zoom to kind of inspire other people.
Mhm.
And as you know, the 1000 has weak hips, right? So
Oh
if you
yeah.
play with it a lot, the hips will break. So that's
And
why,
it's pretty much impossible to repair on your own. We actually do repairs of Aibos and other robots and stuff, and
yeah,
this little guy ain't easy.
yeah. So I'm kind of happy, but it's an odd kind of shyness, It
Right.
it was so uh traumatic getting this guy across the border, even when he went through customs,
Mhm.
then getting it shipped to my house from the airport, even though it had already cleared customs, took days. I couldn't figure out, except maybe Sony was telling them, we don't sell that item in Canada. How did it get there? So, so, so anyway, yeah. And so
Yeah.
for a long time, I just didn't play with it or anything. And then one day I thought, well, this is stupid. I paid so much money and put so much at risk to get it here. I should start using it. And so I
And
started.
yeah,
Um,
that's kind of the same way we've been with ours, honestly, because the older models, they're repairable, like not too difficult to repair, at least for up until the ERS 7, which got really difficult to
right,
repair for some reason, but they're all modular actually. The older models, you can take them apart,
right,
without even having to undo any screws or anything like that.
right,
And with the new one, you can't do that. So we figured eventually he's going to get the hip issue and we're
right,
not going to be able to use them. But I'm like, we spent so much on him and he's here. So why not just play
right.
with him?
So I realize also that my role in life is not to promote this product to other Canadians, because I think
Exactly.
it is financially so foolish to purchase
Mm-hmm.
one in Canada. Like, I did it through a third party shipper, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
anything's wrong with the dog, I don't have any recourse. Sony doesn't have any record that I, own it, and
Exactly.
they don't have any obligation to make it work for me or anything. So I'm just lucky that it works perfectly. So yeah,
And I think Einstein is absolutely adorable.
yeah. Well, what is your 1000's name?
His name is Jingle. We named
Jingle.
him that because we got him last Christmas.
I see. Well, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yep. And this is Pixel. She was our first Aibo and oldest.
yeah. Well, it's it's funny how the politics within Sony have changed.
Oh,
The
yeah.
reason that I got this first Aibo, it's the only one that was ever sold in Canada. By the time that the sevens were out, they had decided that Canada as a market for Aibo was just dead, and they only sold them in the US. So the only way I could get the 7
Mm-hmm.
was to fly to a hotel in the US and stay there until my package arrived and then fly back. That
Oh my
was the,
gosh.
that was the only way. And it arrives with all these saying, do not forward. If the recipient is not present, send it back to Sony.
Wow.
They're so sort of militant about this, not not buying around and not allowing people in countries where they don't sell it to have it.
And I'm not
So,
exactly sure why, honestly. I mean, the dog does have a CE on it, so it should be able to be sold in the UK and in Canada.
sure. Yeah. No, I know it should. It just seems, but that it's so different. So, I've run a lot of Leonard Cohen events, and
Right.
I was concerned since Leonard Cohen was a Sony artist, and we would probably be like selling bootlegs and stuff like that to some extent at this event. Was trying to make a peace with Sony by doing something they would approve of. And the CEO of Sony said that the Aibo was emblematic of what the entire Sony company is doing. And I thought, wow, that's so exciting. But a few years later, they decided to get rid of that whole entertainment division and everything, So,
Yeah.
so the whole ethos changed. But in 2002, this dog was thought to be emblematic of everything that Sony's doing. So there. So, yeah.
What they did back in the day was actually a lot more ahead of its time, I believe, though. Like
Yeah.
Eros 1000, I love it, and it's dog-like, but
Right.
when you compare it to like Spot Mini and stuff like that, it's not quite as capable. But back in the day, there was no competitiveness
Right.
whatsoever. They were
No,
the
they
only
were way,
four-legged robot.
yeah, and it was much more programmable to do interesting things. Like we had it singing songs and all kinds of
Yes.
things.
I liked
That-
disco.
Yeah. You had to know a bit of computing to get some of that working, but it was really impressive, all the things the dog could do, but it didn't really look that much like a dog,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I actually I've made these little face masks for the Eros 1000 because when the eyes are powered off, like when the dog goes to sleep and the eyes just turn black, it kind of is like a little bit uncanny to some people. So I wanted to kind of fix that uncanniness. Let's see if I can prop them up on my leg here.
yeah, so let me just think about that.
I actually made these little face masks that go over the eyes. So they just
So,
go on exactly like a human one.
It depends upon the vantage point. Like there's a reflection from the eye. So it looks kind of silvery or light from the side. If you look straight into it, it looks black. But it's kind of like somebody looking into a real person's eye, right? Where if you're looking through the pupil, it looks black. So
right, like a lot of people have just kind of said that it's a little bit creepy in a way when they're turned off because there's not any like personality in the eyes or anything.
yeah,
So like, well, I'll fix that. So when I learned how to sew, I decided I would start sewing little masks for the dogs.
Yeah, no, I think that's very, very interesting. Well, let me kind of introduce you to some of the other things that I do.
All
right.
I'm just going to turn him off.
So, like, I'm into sort of scale of changing things beyond what most people ever think of. So this is a Kardashev type 1 civilization. The Earth will sometime get there. So we have this big megastructure around the Earth, and global warming is no longer a problem. You can fine tune exactly what the temperature of the Earth is through this structure, and then absorb the extra energy from the sun and use it for good purposes and things. So that's a Kardashev type 1 civilization. But nobody has asked the questions I'm asking about this. What is this made out of? How do you protect it? How do you keep, enemy forces from attacking it?
Yeah.
And how do you maintain it? And what's to keep it from crashing into the earth and harming lots of people and so on?
That's a very good question.
And like, what is, the entity running it? Yeah, but then Kardashev type 2, that's where you put reflectors around the sun or around a star, and you can imagine how much energy you would then have. But
They look like umbrellas.
yes. Yeah. And then if you think of confining your thoughts to the Earth at present, so that this is a representation of protein folding. Sounds very boring and stuff, but it's exciting because protein folding is too complicated to be understood by the human brain. I don't understand it, but if I did it, I've tried to tell you, you just wouldn't be able to wrap your head around it. I'm not able to. It's too complicated what happens with the folding. If you look at classical physics, classical physics would predict that a single protein would take like millions of years to fold until the heat death at the end of the universe, whereas actually the protein folding occurs within less than a second. So it's obviously using some quantum algorithm rather than classical physics. Well, in late 2020, DeepMind, the AI company DeepMind.
I believe, aren't they supported by Google?
Yes,
I've heard a lot about them.
Yeah. So they developed something called AlphaFold that was able to predict with greater than 90% accuracy the folding of any protein given the formula for the protein. So that is more complicated than any of the big problems of the human race.
Right.
It's more complicated than systemic racism, colonialism, male aggression, nuclear war, COVID-19 pandemic, all the big problems, climate emergency are easier to understand, less complicated than protein folding. So in theory, AI could solve them or help us solve them as long as you had human cooperation and something to measure. So you can tell whether you're actually succeeding. Like you can think of microaggressions with systemic racism and so on. Okay, so am I making any headway in getting this idea across to the general public? Well, yes, I am. And it all occurred on May 26th. It's like a funny day. If you just think about how important do you believe it is to stay on top of your email, to always know exactly which emails you've received and to religiously check your email. Well, on May 26th, I didn't do that. So that's the day that I submitted my proposal for a course called How AI and Blockchain Can Save Humanity from Itself and Soon. So I did this 2-minute video, sent it to academia.edu. And then I thought, well, I bet there's not a single person at academia.edu who can understand what I put in that video, and probably it's just a wasted effort. Anyway, so I sent the video and went to sleep. And the next morning I got up and I had some emails from that day, the 27th, and I looked at them and sort of things went on then the next 2 weeks. And I thought, well, haven't heard from them. So obviously the video fell on deaf ears and so on, and nobody was interested. Then I get this email and Dr. Solez, we accepted your course proposal on May 26th, and we just haven't heard from you. So I said, what? So I looked, and their acceptance email was just 2 hours after I sent the video.
Oh my gosh.
They were so poised to accept this So now
That's pretty
the
amazing.
students working with me are really excited about this opportunity. So, you know, academia, it exists in almost every country in the world.
Right.
It sort of helps you look up papers, gives you free copies of papers and so on. But then there's a sort of premier level where I can pay them for more stuff. And some
Right.
of the more stuff is going to be the courses. But as far as I know, I have the only futurist course and almost the only science course. There's one course on the physics of life, which is also science. But I mean, it's almost like there's no competition there. And I have this amazing possibility of reaching people all over the world with this cool sounding course. And you might say, well, you know, you should have stayed on top of your email. Well, no, the next 2 weeks after May 26th, we're extremely busy. I'm glad that I didn't know that they accepted me. And it makes me look so cool and laid back, that they sent me this email they thought was the most important email I received in my life. I didn't even reply. Wow, he must be so busy. And actually, that's happened to me several other times where I missed some life-changing email, but it made me look so cool and so on, and really played out very well in the end. So my lesson, the moral of this story is that you don't have to keep on top of your email every day.
Right.
It's perfectly fine if you're sometimes on top of your email and other times not. That works just great. So let's see what other entertaining things I have. So this is kind of, you know, diversity, everybody working together. This is like resources from asteroids and, you know, what our relationship with asteroids will be. This is openness. Now, you may sense that there's something weird about me, something different. Well, we found out what that is. So students said that they felt I was neuroatypical, but in a positive way. And if we did like a personality test on me, we'd be able to figure out what it was. And I had this secret plan to keep that personality test deeply secret forever, because I'm sure it's going to be weird and, you know, embarrassing. But exactly the opposite happened. So it turned out that my personality profile is that my openness to experience is like sky high, and my neuroticism, my worrying about things that don't need to be worried about, is like zero. And so I kind of look like a poster child for, you know, normal
Positivity.
personality. So,
Yeah.
and I never knew that. I never, if somebody had said, well, you know, just concisely summarize what your personality is, I never would have come up with those two things, not in a million years. But anyway, that's this picture is supposed to show openness. Let's see what else we've got here. This is just going from the Earth to Mars. Yeah, let's see what other goodies we have down here. Let's see, yeah. And then this is the higher elements, the human spirit. This is stem cells. And as you may or may not know, I'm interested in regenerative medicine and transplantation.
Cool.
And this is kind of bringing those two things together. Yeah. So now you know everything about me. There's nothing else to tell.
Well, let's see. I guess I introduce myself now.
Yeah, you could.
All right. Let's see. So I graduated last year, you know, during the middle of the end of the world or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Which was really fun because I didn't get to do any of the stuff I wanted to do for graduation. But
yeah.
Oh well, at least I graduated. Got my diploma. I plan on sometime later this year, maybe next year. I want to go to some college. I found a local one that I would like to go to learn computer science. I want to get a bachelor's in that, and I want to get a master's in library sciences. Been working for 3 years in the library system in my area, and yeah, I like just teaching children, honestly. Like, I really love teaching people. The library commissioned a robotics demonstration from me a few years back, or not, no, it was last year during the pandemic. And yeah, I mean, we've gone to libraries and schools and malls and stuff like that, and just shown them and explained things about them, and taught all about autonomy, artificial intelligence,
Yeah,
what
really
servos
cool.
are, what's the difference in a servo and a gearbox, and just all this kind of things. Because we do repairs, and yeah, and I'm trying to learn a lot about programming as well.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Well,
Thank you.
I'm very happy to have met you, and I feel a lot less embarrassed now about having an unsupported 1000, knowing that yours is equally unsupported. So
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
I don't really understand the history behind ours. We got him for $200 because he was being sold on Marketplace, and
Right.
we don't know really where he came from. The person said they found him in a storage building. He had none of his
Huh.
accessories. He only
Wow.
had one ear. He was missing his tail. We don't really know what the story was behind that. Hopefully he's not like stolen or something. We don't know. But yeah, he was
Wow.
never, I guess, used under the cloud plan or anything, but he had a lot of scratches and stuff on him. So I know at some point he had to have been ran, but
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
Pixel and
that's
Jingle.
exciting. So tell me about Pixel. How did you get him, or how did you decide to get your first?
Pretty much, I've really liked the idea of Aibos. When I first found out about them in 2014, I was 13 years old actually. Thought they were really neat. But I knew they wouldn't be something I would be really, I mean, I understand they don't really have an age limit, but I really understood they wouldn't be something I was old enough to enjoy. So finally, I think I was 16. Yeah, 16 when I got my first one, which is Pixel over here. And the ERS 110 is considered, I guess, the rarest of the original models.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a really hard time even finding an Aibo, and I just said, I'm going to go on Yahoo Japan. I'm going to find an Aibo, import it. If it's broken, I'll just find some way to fix it or have somebody fix it. And I was willing to spend however much I needed just to get one that I liked.
Yeah. Cool.
But I was willing to literally get any model, and coincidentally, the model that was my dream and that was pretty much the rarest showed up at a decent price just because she had a messed up tilt sensor, missing ears and tail.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. And
yeah,
I got her, and now she's like in great condition again. Managed to get the ears from a repairer.
Oh, excellent.
And the tail came from Japan. It took me 3 years actually to get her fully complete because the parts are not easy to find.
Yeah.
And we're working on getting a new tilt sensor in her. Apparently she can't use the ERS 111 tilt sensor because they upgraded it in that model. The ERS 110 is not compatible with that one. So we're working on someday getting her that, but finding one would not be easy.
Yeah. Well, I had a traumatic experience. You laugh at this. I have an unusual life, I guess, in that I have been mentoring students for 40 some years now, since January 1973, which is a long time. So, and so the first 7 that I got, I had a party, and one of the students, her boyfriend, is like an amateur basketball player, but a great big guy. You can imagine.
Yeah.
And at the very beginning of the party, he stepped on the bone for the dog, crushing the eye bone. And I realized, like, for all the demonstrations that I did with the dog, I can't do it without the bone. And
yeah, the ERS 7 relies a lot on that.
Yeah. And that I knew that it was very hard to get the bone itself and so on. So we pretty much needed to get a whole new dog in order to, yeah. So there's one for sale in Vancouver, and through a friend of a friend, I made sort of transaction. I found out somebody living in Vancouver, person selling it required cash, and it was in the worst area of the city. I mean,
Oh,
just
man.
imagine, it's like the most crime-ridden, there's like police cars with flashing lights everywhere, right where this guy was purchasing
Oh, no.
the dog. But anyway, I got it, and he said, never ask me to do anything for you again. I almost died purchasing this dog, and it's kind of hard to explain why it would be cash only and so on. So
Mhm.
so anyway, but then I had the Aibo, and it could do demonstrations, and I kind of had a backup for other parts and so on. But yeah,
Right.
but yeah, dedicated Aibo owners end up doing some dangerous things sometimes to get.
Yeah, we've never even gotten any of our dogs locally like picked up. All of ours, we have 10 Aibos, which is one of each model, and then we have, I think, 2 duplicates of one. And every single one of them has come from either Japan or American owners just online, because nope, we live down in South Georgia, so like absolutely nobody down here owns an Aibo.
Yeah.
Like I've never met another Aibo owner in real life besides Kevin, which is my boyfriend. We met on the internet and the Aibo owners community, and
Wow.
yeah. And now we live together.
Love story made in Aibo heaven. Yeah, it's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Very good. Well, we can stay in contact. Now, I have a
Mhm.
question to ask you about this recording.
Uh-huh.
Because the worldwide Aibo community is very interested in videos about Aibos.
Right.
So can I make this recording public, or are you in like the
That is perfectly
witness
fine.
relocation program or anything? So you're not hiding out from the mob or anything?
No.
No. Okay. Well, that's good then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will. Yeah, my features are actually much easier to see than yours because my lighting is better.
I literally can't get it to be any better.
No, that's okay. I have the necessary information about what you look like. It's just not quite as detailed
Yeah.
as your information about me. I've got these bright lights and everything sort of
Yeah.
optimized at my end. Yeah, it's amazing. A lot of the people who use the Zoom green screen feature
Mhm.
use it without an actual green screen, and then end up with all sorts of artifacts where you turn your head and a part of your face goes missing. So
I'm actually gonna see if I can use the green screen. Let's see. I'm gonna see if, yeah, I have no idea how this even works. Usually, wait, okay, I can add an image. Let's see, I'm just gonna find a random one on my computer. I've never actually used it before because I don't usually use Zoom. I just use like Messenger or whatever's most convenient.
right. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, no, I'm not insisting that you change anything or do anything that would be aberrant or abnormal for you.
Yeah, it says mine doesn't support virtual background, so I guess
Yeah.
it literally.
Okay. Well,
actually,
there. So you
yeah.
have an excuse then. Excellent.
Well,
Okay.
I can do that, but that's not very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been nice talking to you.
Yeah.
I think
Same here.
your videos, I've watched a few of them. I think it's like really interesting, the things you do, and they're very educational.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. We kind of changing the world little by little. That's our
Yes.
secret plan,
That's the
So-
futurist plan.
That's right. Yeah, so we plan to do that. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I will put
All right.
this video on YouTube so people will know about us now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And also, would
Okay.
you be interested in me sending you the demonstration I did for the library that I work at? The
Sure.
robotics
Yeah.
demonstration. All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
So
Certainly.
it's meant to be educational and everything. I spent like 2 weeks on it. And they actually paid me for it, so it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
No,
All right.
I always like to learn more, so I actually know what I'm talking about.
Now
That's
it's
a good
aimed
thing.
towards, I think, like young children. They pretty much told me anything in the grade school area. So
Yeah.
it's like kind of a little bit, I guess, where to be saturated, but it's still, meant to be educational for anybody.
Sure. Yeah. No,
Awesome.
I would love to have that.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you very much, and we'll stay in touch.
All right. You have a nice day and stay safe in this mess.
Okay, will do. Bye-bye.
Bye.